Na gut, aber ich freue mich. Mal was Neues. Mach die Musik ein bisschen lauter. Und dann werden wir ein bisschen Spaß haben mit der Koch Primetime.
Hello there guys, my name is Opal Cadman and welcome. Today I have 3 main tasks. The first one is to introduce you to Koch Media's brand new premium gaming label. Number 2 is to take a deep dive into some of the games coming to that label. And finally, number 3 is to show you what the new label will be getting up to in the streaming world. I want to welcome streamers who are co-streaming this today.
Moin.
Some of you guys are guys who I have looked up to and watched for many years. And speaking of people who I've looked up to for many years, I am so proud to introduce Jeff Keeley, who will be helping me co-host us through this entire list of games. Jeff, how's it going?
Thanks, Opal. It is so great to be here with you for the
Und
first
Jeff hat
ever
direkt Pegel.
live stream from Prime Matter. I was honored yesterday to reveal the label to the world.
Ja, genau. Es wird gestern angekündigt. Mal gucken.
Kickoff event, and wow, you've got a lot of games there in that sizzle. Over a dozen games. So I know today you're going to go a little bit more in depth to talk about all these games, to talk to a lot of the developers. But for those of you that might have missed it yesterday or just want to see it again, let's kick things off with a look at that announcement sizzle reel for Prime Matter.
Alter Schwede.
Sometimes I ask myself,
Für mich viel zu laut.
what it all means. Let's begin.
Genau, das wurde ja gestern schon gezeigt. Einmal den Ankündigungstrailer. Hey, das läuft jetzt alles über Label Prime Matter. Na, da sind bekannte Spiele dabei, die viele von euch kennen. Ich wiederum nicht. Als ich aber Payday gesehen habe oder Kingdom Abaddon oder so, was ja jetzt auch für die Switch rauskommen soll, sind schon ein paar Titel dabei, die man auf jeden Fall kennt. In einem schönen, bombastischen Trailer, wo wir gedacht haben, das ist Pause. Ich bin laut genug, das andere eher mehr. Okay.
Is that who you are?
My purpose makes me who I am.
Ja, und wie gesagt, das haben wir gestern eigentlich schon am voller Montur gesehen. Die Änderungen.
Being relied on to succeed where others would fail.
Ne? Hier sieht man die Titel, die jetzt auch unter diesem Label laufen. Jetzt ist es in etwa gleich laut. Sag ja, das Stream ist schon laut. Na, ich lasse es jetzt erstmal so.
Prime Matter.
Babam, babam. Ist okay. Kann man machen.
Yes, guys, you just saw 12 games and counting. And that's just the start for Prime Matter. But before we get into these incredible games, what I like to call the juicy bits, I want to talk to you about what Prime Matter is and who we are. Prime Matter is the new premium gaming label of Koch Media. It dedicates itself to delivering a range of immersive and diverse games from amazing development talent all around the globe. It highlights the varied influences of global studios and their different approaches to game making. The new label will lead through creativity and expression, with games that enthrall players, with larger-than-life storytelling, create incredible moments, and above all,
na gut, man kann sich nicht alles merken.
The team behind Prime Matter is a melting pot of incredible
Aber auch hier hätte ich eher ihr geraten, diese AirPods oder wie die auch mal heißen, zu tragen. Mit Kopfhörern sieht das irgendwie mehr aus.
The team behind are gamers at heart, working with such a wide range of passionate developers producing games together by gamers for gamers.
So, Painkiller. Oder sieht man, hat man ja auch nur gestern schon das Logo gesehen.
You would have seen that one game was actually missing in our 12-game lineup for Prime Matter during the video. That is a game that comes from the Embracer family itself. Jeff got to sit down with Todd Hollinshead and talk all about Painkiller.
All right, you saw the news yesterday. Yes, there is a new Painkiller coming, and Todd is joining me now to maybe give us a few more details. I know this is kind of a fresh project for the team at Saber, and you guys, first of all, I love that you and Tim Willits
Ja,
are
die beiden
there,
schon wieder.
continuing to
Was soll
build out
was soll man
Saber.
machen?
And
Wir reden jetzt über
Painkiller
Painkiller.
was a franchise. You and I are both OG.
Eine
We
Spielserie, die
remember,
ziemlich alt
probably
ist.
15 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a
15
while.
Jahre.
You know, closer to two decades than one.
My God. All right. Well, but it's one of those classic games. Let me ask you from a Prime Matter perspective, you know, you've been in the industry like me all those years, and we remember that game. Why was this a franchise that you guys wanted to sort of bring back?
Well, you know, Painkiller, when I played it back in the early 2000s, this is a game that had, you know, it was dark, a little twisted, intense, cool guns. These are the things that, you know, kind of hit the nail on the head of what appeals to me in a video game, both as, you know, as a fan and then also as a publisher at Saber. So, you know, we're hoping to capture those same sort of
Wisst ihr, was mein
elements and bring
Problem
those
ist?
into the
Die
new
reden jetzt über ein
Yeah,
Spiel
you
und
know,
überhaupt
you guys are
und
certainly
retrospektiv und hast nicht
masters of
gesehen,
doing,
aber
shooters from
nichts.
all your time at
Gar
id,
nichts.
and Painkiller, you know, does have a lot of that DNA of, you know, fast-paced action with a little bit of a twist to it. And you know, the fact that you guys are working with Prime Matter is also exciting. You know, brand new publisher, brand new label. What do you think of the fact that they're doing this label, and you know, it's such a diverse lineup of companies and partners around it? You know, I know you guys work with a lot of publishers, but it's pretty exciting to see a new label announced. That doesn't happen every day.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, I think that within the Embracer Group, you know, it's just a business that is growing. We've got great leadership at the top. And so Koch Media is, you know, wanting to expand their publishing. And I think that, you know, the name they chose, Prime Matter, sort of is, you know, it's sort of like the primordial soup of putting together stuff from nothing. So, yeah, you know, it kind of makes me think of this is what we do when we make video games. You know, you start with Pixel 0, and then at the end of the day, you make a game. So I feel like that, you know, that kind of resonates with hopefully the type of experiences that we're going to be providing, you know, not just within Prime Matter and working with them between Saber and our partnership, but, you know, across the Embracer Group as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds like they have a lot of games in development, but the fact that you are bringing back Painkiller is really exciting. And I know, you know, fans, of course, want to know a little bit about, you know, what's the game going to look, how's it going to play. Probably can't share a lot of details about it, but you're kind of in the early stages of development now on this?
Yeah, super early, and you know, if anything that I would share, I'd probably get
Die haben nichts gelernt, ne?
back home once I get back to the developer, because you know all these, you know,
naja, man schmeißt halt den Leuten Knochen hin und die beißen schon irgendwie drauf.
and changed, and yeah. So we're trying to keep the lid on the details until we have something that's going to be really awesome to show.
All right. Well, we'll be waiting for it, and we know with you involved, it's going to be something very special. Fast-paced action, I have no doubt.
Da oben wird jetzt immer angezeigt, was
coming
kommt.
soon from the team at Saber, published by Prime Matter. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Jeff.
I really can't wait to hear more about Painkiller and the fact that Todd and Tim and the team at Saber are working on it. I think we're going to get something pretty special when they are ready to share more. So, you know, exciting stuff in that sizzle reel, Painkiller, Payday, but I know there's a lot more we're here to talk about today as well, right, Opal?
Actually, Prime Matter has 12 games under development right at this minute. We're so excited
Okay, also
to
eins
show
haben wir
you
schon
guys
gesehen.
what us and the developers have been up to. However, before you see some of the content that we show you today, I do have to make it clear that some of this is pre-alpha, alpha, high-level concept, and some of it is about to release right around the corner. So please keep that in mind when you're viewing today's show. That being said, how do you guys feel about a psychedelic third-person survival horror game? Set on what it means to go on a journey about self-enlightenment and what happens when it all goes wrong. I got to speak with the developers of The Chant, work in progress title, about their game and who
Also
they
irgendwie sitzt sie auch ein bisschen zu nah an ihm im Hintergrund, der wackelt immer mit.
Go to a spiritual retreat to seek enlightenment, and they basically get a little more than they bargained for. And your character has to deal with her own personal issues as well as the cosmic terrors that become awakened.
Cool. So, what type of genre is this game?
And it's a bit hard to pin down with the with all the different influences and styles of gameplay, but I'd say we're probably a survival action horror game.
Okay. Cool. And what was the thinking behind that genre? Is it something that you guys like, or is it just it came left field? What's your decision behind that?
Personally, we always wanted to make a horror game. A big part of our core team have a background in third-person sandbox games, and we really wanted to combine, action mechanics, deep storytelling, and we felt that the horror genre was a really exciting space to take that background and play around with.
So, kind of sticking with the horror genre, why did you decide to go with that theme? It's not really like normally what you would see, this whole spiritual awakening thing. So what was the idea behind that?
We thought it was just kind of an interesting territory to explore. There's a lot of influence from that with like folk horror of the 70s and giallo horror and so forth that really inspired us more from a film standpoint. And taking that kind of aesthetic, something that was very sensational, very colorful, and mixing it in with more action-oriented and exploratory game mechanics, we felt was a fresh take on the horror space.
So, kind of speaking about your inspirations and stuff, what video games, real life media has inspired you to create this title?
Well, going way back when Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Alone in the Dark, Eternal Darkness. So a lot of games are very inspirational to us. Our game actually started off as a game with fixed camera angles and so forth, and then we over the course of development. Just especially really focusing on bringing more of an action element to it. We've since switched to an over-the-shoulder camera and haven't looked back.
So kind of talking about changes and what you guys are doing on the development side, how close is the game to like the original concept? I understand you guys are still developing, the game's quite far out, but from your original concept to where the game is now, how much has that differed?
The core story and I'd say the aesthetic and the themes, those all remain intact. I'd say our gameplay, as our team size grew, we added deeper mechanics. I'd say more action to the game. Our game actually has a fair amount of combat in it, especially on the melee side. Those were things that weren't too prevalent in our original concept, and a lot of those things are just kind of based on, we're a very small team at first. We're still a relatively small team, but every new person that joins, brings something new to the mix. So I'd say on that end, the game has evolved in scope and depth of gameplay.
Awesome. Kind of sticking on that point of, you got a small team, there's a lot of challenges that comes with that. What was the hardest part of making the game so far?
The hardest part was probably trying to make a game that has more realistic production values, because that's where our background comes from, on a smaller scale and budget. So for us, we had to be very strategic, utilizing Unreal. We wouldn't have been able to build this game without utilizing an engine like Unreal. Previously, we had worked on more proprietary technology. And that's also great because new people that join the team can get up and running on the engine quite quickly. In addition to that, we've been using photogrammetry from the start for both our environments. All of our characters are also scanned actors, and we're using, also tapping into a lot of what's going on in our city. Vancouver has a pretty big film industry, so really tapping into the film and the effects industry and tapping into that area of expertise to just kind of try to do things as efficiently as possible.
So you've mentioned like experience in the past and also kind of how rich Vancouver is. How much does that come in handy when you're working on the game?
Oh, it's been extremely beneficial. Vancouver, is home to a lot of AAA studios. A large portion of us work together at Rockstar and United Front Games, and we also have people who have worked at the Coalition and EA, as well as some smaller independent studios as well. And in addition to that, having the film industry here, where we can utilize local talent. We're working with union actors. We're scanning actors as well that we're using for our characters, and we're actually currently auditioning a couple remaining characters for the game, and as well as doing the finishing touches on our new motion capture studio. So we're going to be doing a full cinematics push over the coming months. That's a really exciting.
Also das, was er erzählt, ist ja schon interessant, aber es wäre besser gewesen, wenn er das so schön untermalt hätte mit ein paar Fotos, wie es zurzeit da aussieht. Gerade so eine Entwicklung während Corona wäre für mich sehr interessant. Aber sonst interessant ist halt, dass sie am Anfang schon gedacht haben, wir machen Horrorspiele mit Fixerkamera und sind dann jetzt doch über Top-Shoulder gegangen, haben sich viele Leute in das Team geholt, die halt aus bekannten Kreisen vorhanden waren. Coalition ist zum Beispiel gefahren, aber es ist, wenn das bei den anderen neuen Titeln so weitergeht, dann es ist nett, was er erzählt, und er erzählt bestimmt seine Lebensgeschichte, aber es ist
different to probably what some of you used to coming from those massive studios. So finally, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and also, being featured on their brand new label?
It's truly an exciting place to be. We've been kind of pushing our game as far as we could, and this partnership is really helping to provide more reach.
Auf der anderen Seite, jetzt mit dem neuen Label, können sie zumindest ein bisschen mehr strategisch planen, mit Programmieren, weil er ja auch am Anfang gesagt hat, Anfangszeiten war ein bisschen mit Geld und hier immer ein bisschen gucken, und hast nicht gesehen. Aber wie gesagt, ist bei jedem neu gegründeten Studio, glaube ich, so.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to talk to you and find out a little bit more about what you guys are going to be offering for the
17
new
Minuten rum,
label.
bis auf den Anfangstrailer um den Label mit alten Spielen. Kein Gameplay, keine Skizze. Nee, eine Skizze hätte mir ja schon gereicht.
Internet rumors, our next developer created the huge open world of Bohemia and took us on an adventure through the Holy Roman Empire. However, there have been some leaks that this action RPG may have a home on the Switch. Opal sat down with Warhorse Studios to try and get to the bottom of this.
Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Switch. That is quite some news.
Yes, that's true. Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Das ist schon
and as
krass.
I said, it's about gamers, devs and games. In our
eigentlich ein sehr hardwarefressendes Spiel damals gewesen, vor 2 Jahren.
What do you mean?
Well, some kind of confusion happened in the end of last year. We Warhorse Studios were preparing the release of the Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition on PlayStation and Xbox, but someone most likely ticked the wrong box in Japan, and it looked like it's going to be released on Switch as well. Of course, by that time there was nothing existing like that. We were not even thinking about the possibility that Kingdom Come Deliverance could go on the Switch. However, Nintendo Japan took this information, some Japanese media, and then the snowball started rolling. All of a sudden it was the talk of the day. Kingdom Come Deliverance is releasing on the Switch, but as I said, nothing like that was planned at all, and we didn't even think about that. Now, a few months back, and we think it was still somehow cursing around in the Nintendo database, Nintendo of Spain posted a picture on Twitter where they had different pictures of open world games, and they were promoting already existing open world games on the Nintendo store. And if you clicked on the picture, actually you couldn't there was nothing like Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course not, because as I said, nothing like that is existing. However, again, it created confusion. People were talking about it again, like, okay, so is it coming, is it not coming? But for us, actually, and as I said, we didn't think about that until that time. For us, we started to think. There's a lot of interest, there's a lot of buzz. People are actually talking about us, reaching out to us, like they seem to want Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Nintendo Switch. So we started to think.
Ich möchte einfach nur einen Trailer und 4 Minuten PR-Gebabbel. Wobei das Thema ist schon interessant, wie sich so ein Entwickler fühlt, wenn auf einmal sowas Falsches geleakt wird und es einfach mal so eskaliert. Er sagt ja, Snowball-Effekt, quasi, es rollt, bis zum geht nicht mehr. Und das sind ja die Momente, wo dann ein Entwickler dann wirklich auf die Idee kommt, so, yes, vielleicht versuchen wir es doch einfach mal.
More or less, yes. The community feedback we got, of course, was a big drive for this entire project. But
das finde ich eigentlich schon, das ist natürlich hier komplett fehl am Platz, aber es ist schon eine Geschichte, schon eine gute Geschichte. Aber ich hätte sie auch lieber gelesen.
Any Warhol Studios or any Kingdom Come Deliverance. So we always try to be very close to them and working together with them, and even coming up with crazy ideas together with them. So, for instance, the Savior Schnapps, our own liquor we created later, was actually a community idea. We have our own beer brand. We recently released a blue brick set, like a building set for Kingdom Come Deliverance buildings. And now one of the latest projects is the Kingdom Come Deliverance soap bar, which should give you the real medieval smell. In that case, I must say, medieval smells actually pretty well. And we are coming up with crazy stuff like that all the time. Our next new merchandise project is a Farkle box board game.
Ach übrigens, ich hab ja meine Seife. Kann man machen, warum nicht?
Kingdom Come Deliverance minigame, a dice minigame you can play in the game. And now with Griffon
ja, immer bin ich der gleichen Meinung. Ist nett. Es ist nett, aber 21 Minuten. Bisher nur Ankündigungen von Spielen, wo man nichts gesehen hat und natürlich eine Portierung, wo der Entwickler jetzt selber die Geschichte erzählt. Ey, eigentlich nie geplant. Naja.
Soapy hot news. Speaking of soapy hot news, how do you feel about Warhorse being under the new label Prime Matter?
It's a huge honor, of course. We were working together with Koch for over 4 years already. In 2019, we then even became part of the entire Embracer family, so that was a big thing. And now being able to take part at the beginning of something new, be there when there's a new label being created, that is a big thing for us. And especially if you consider that we come there as an established partner already, that is really cool, and we are looking forward to a bright future.
Thank you very much, Toby. We cannot see what Warhorse.
Ich freue mich immer, wenn in die Ecke kommt. Coming up!
Until that time.
Tululu. Weiß ich ganz genau. Dauert es irgendwie lange. Ja, also die Geschichte ist schon dahinter schon ziemlich interessant. Das ist am Anfang gar nicht vom Entwickler geplant war und dann so, ja, why not?
All right, let's move from RPGs to FPS games. Final Form, which is a working title, is an action-packed sci-fi adventure where you play the role of a humanoid avatar of a sentient spaceship sent on a mission to the edge of the known universe to battle an unstoppable plague. The game is still a long ways from completion, but here's a very quick peek at what's in store.
Endlich ein Trailer, nach 23 Minuten. Und wahrscheinlich nur ein kleiner Teaser. Aber egal. Sci-Fi finde ich schon wieder gut. Oh, mit Gameplay. Gameplay.
Hi, we are Raycon Games, and what you have just seen is the first glimpse of our upcoming game codenamed Final Form.
Final Form is an action-packed, epic sci-fi FPS in which you are a female-formed humanoid machine on a space mission.
Koch Media ist ein sehr bekannter Publisher, wenn es in den Bereich PC geht. Ne? Ich glaube, Koch Media war auch, hat auch gepublished sowas wie Gothic. Aber ich halte mich da jetzt ganz flach, das weiß ich nicht. Koch Media ist bei mir eigentlich immer nur im Hinterkopf hat sehr profitiert durch die Auflösung von THQ oder die Zerschlagung von THQ, sich zum Beispiel die Macher von Saints Row sich gekrallt haben. Aber sonst ist Koch Media relativ groß, ne? Ah, guck mal, Koch Media ist auch groß.
With additional team members located all over the world.
Genau.
The studio was founded and is managed entirely by game developers.
Also da das Gameplay auch mit diesen Kugel-Ding sehen, fand ich schon interessant. Echt, hat KSM geschluckt. Oh. Okay, das wusste ich nicht. Krass.
But what we love to do is to evolve together with our projects, constantly finding smarter and better.
Aber die ganzen Anime-Rechte liegen eh bei Bandai Namco, zumindest bei den meisten.
We build our work environment just like we make games, aiming for the best results and personal fulfillment.
Der Doktor hilft.
We strongly believe that the well-being of team
hier, das meinte ich mit der Kugel schon.
First, before we can pour all of that love into a game.
Final Form, Codename Final Form, behalte ich mal im Auge.
The partnership with Koch Media has been very fruitful and
ich meine, Koch Media hat auch Entwickler wie zum Beispiel Yaga. Glaube ich auch unter Fittiche, aber bin ich mir nicht ganz sicher. Und sonst, Distributor für die ganzen Sega und Saturn-Spiele. Liefen damals, glaube ich, alle unter Koch Media. Koch Media Deep Silver.
I have to say, guys, I love the soundtrack from Final Form. Moving on to our next game, which is just as special. What if you took Lovecraftian and Gagaris themes and mixed it all together with hardcore RPG elements? That's exactly what Massive Works Studios are doing. I got to sit down with their CTO to talk about their game, Dolmen.
Da unten steht's wieder, World Premiere. Ah, okay. Ich dachte, das Spiel ist schon draußen gewesen. Aber ich kenn's halt nicht. War ja in der Prime Beta Dings drinne. Erinnert ein bisschen an, wie hieß der Titel nochmal, der auf der Xbox One Gameplay Showcase gezeigt worden ist. Swarm, weiß der Teufel, so, das erinnert mich irgendwie daran. Ew. Ew. Ja, das ist aber ganz normal am Pirat. Das war Premiere Overload. Ist halt so inflationär geworden damit. Dolmen.
Let's speak now to Gabriel Ferreira, CTO of Massive Works Studios, who joins us now from Campinas near São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil.
Hat wahrscheinlich noch keiner hinzugefügt, das neue Label,
Gabriel,
das Primetime.
What is Dolmen about?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to participate. Well, so let me tell a little bit about what Dolmen is. Dolmen is that kind of a game where the hero needs to save everyone from an alien threat. Fighting with all kinds of monsters and struggling to keep going forward. Yeah, that's the kind of game that Dolmen is not about. In this game, you actually save the drillers, which is the alien species that live on that planet, but you're going there to help a company save its investment. So you're not really the nice guy that's trying to save everyone. It's just a job. But we hope that the players consider the humanity, the greed, the war, and the spares and the challenges that come to mind along with that job. Taking all that part, and yes, Dolmen is also about fighting all kinds of monsters and struggling. After all, it is a hard game. It's a hardcore game. it's inspired on Souls-like. So yes, you're going to die a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So when thinking about the name Dolmen, obviously you guys went for that for like a very specific reason. What's the thinking behind the name? Why did you go for Dolmen?
So there was many things that came to our mind when describing the name of the game. Dolmen, which means a single chamber tomb, a megalithic tomb. We thought it would be a good word to describe this tomb.
Ja klar, die Koch Primetime, so heißt das Event jetzt, und Prime Matter heißt das neue Label.
That deals with this crystal in the game is close to bringing problems to everyone that is around.
Aber ich bin leider auch, ich habe mich heute darüber auch nicht nochmal genau reingelesen, was das halt für Auswirkungen haben kann.
Heard of Dolmen before, so it is already out there in the world. But how long has it taken to get to this point?
Oh, it's been a long journey since the beginning of the project. We started at late 2016, so it's been almost 5 years now, and probably just a bit more to come out. But we and about our journey, if it wasn't the support that we had since the beginning, either our community, the Kickstarters, and you guys, I believe we would not be here.
Right. Kickstarter-Spiel.
Lovely. How have you been inspired by other games? You mentioned like the Souls-like obviously inspires it. You know, are there other games that inspire you, and also what games do the teams like?
First of all, regarding inspirations, a lot of games came to us when we were producing the game and when we were first thinking of it. Obviously, we are really passionate and we really love Souls-like games, so Bloodborne, Dark Souls, those games were our main inspirations. But we drew inspirations from all different kind of sources. So we had inspirations in Dead Space, in Mass Effect, and also not only inspirations in other games, but also inspirations in movies and Lovecraftian stories. For example, Alien and Geiger, and those were our main inspirations. About games that we most like and games that our team likes, it's really hard to say because we have a team that ranges from liking Dota to CS and Souls-like games. But what I can really tell you is that every one of our team is passionate about the project because they love doing what they do, which is a hardcore game.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well when you get hands on Dolmen, all these inspirations that have come in. So the game is set in a sci-fi universe. Is there any specific reason you decided to go down that route? Was there any other routes that you considered at first?
Yeah. Well, the humans are afraid of what they don't know, and the universe has infinite possibilities. There is always something unknown that we can explore in space. So that sci-fi setting really was something that we could use to throw everything that our insane minds could come with. So we wanted to use the sci-fi as a tool to reach this goal, to present the player a world of unknown that he can fear and he can enjoy it.
No, absolutely. And while we're kind of on the point of humans and Earth, you guys are based in Brazil, which is awesome. Are there any specific challenges that you face during development because of that, or just in general?
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges that we faced along this 5-year journey. We obviously had to adapt our workflow in these late years. So 2020 and 2021 was a really challenge for us. But it was something that we could adapt well, especially because even that we're based in Brazil, we're not only based in a single location in Brazil. We have people spread across the country. So it was easy enough to overcome that challenge. But there were several challenges since getting development kits and finding people that are really capable of helping us to deliver this amazing game. And that's what we gathered, and that's something that our company appreciates the most and really gives value, is the people that we work with. They were really incredible people, and they were really rare over here.
Absolutely, that's really cool. Kind of on that theme of development and challenges, given how development and technology often dictates how a game evolves throughout its development, how kind of close are you to the original concept that you guys came up for Dolmen?
Well, there are different point of views on that answer, especially because we started really small. And in the journey of the game, for example, it started as a concept from a few friends that get together and they brainstormed it for months, the game. So it diverged in two senses. And one of them, when we first thought of the game is huge and is insane and has a lot of background on it. It has all this universe around it. So a lot of it has been built. So people that loves lore and loves the universe that we are creating, they will have a lot to explore on that side. But the game from its original concept evolved a lot, especially now that we have more tools at our disposal. So on the tech side, it advanced way better than we imagined. Back 2016, we didn't have all the resources that we have now. So of course, we made some sacrifices here and there, and in order to achieve our goal, but we're never happy with satisfied at that point of satisfaction. We want to reach more. At the end of the day, this is also a game, and we are having fun. But on top of all, we want to make a brilliant game for the player.
Absolutely. And speaking about like making the game and the development of the game, seeing as you are lead programmer as well, what was the hardest part of making the actual game?
I believe that we could have gone into different options, especially, for example, we could have wanted to make it a game that was simpler or smaller or not have that many hours of gameplay. But we decided to go to a hardcore game, even though it's a first game of our company. So we decided to go full in into that challenge. We faced a lot of challenges, as I mentioned previously, but I believe the hardest part of the game was finding the correct professionals and focusing on what we were doing, and keeping yourself focused for 5 years on a single game is something that is challenging for everyone, especially right now. So it was a difficult decision, but we wanted to make that. Regarding programming and as a programmer, there's a lot of that I could keep talking about what is the harder. Multiplayer is always challenging, but finding that balancing fit, so the game that is not unfair, but is hard. So we wanted to aim hardcore players. So this was really something that was hard.
So you mentioned like 5 years of development, which is a crazy long time. How have you kept yourself motivated? How have the team kept themselves motivated?
I won't say that it was easy, because it wasn't. But I would say that most of all, we were always having this these meetings in order to play the game. Even now that we are remote, we keep getting up every day and making a meeting and showcasing what we are doing and working alongside each one of us. Also, a lot of things that happened before COVID was the events. The events always made us super happy. So showcasing the game to everyone and getting the players to play the game and see how they react, it was something incredible for us. It really made us feel proud of what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone's missing that event feeling, right? When you actually get to see people on the games and you're like, oh, wow, everyone's loving our games. I think it's something that everyone is missing, definitely. Speaking of kind of motivation and happy times, what are you most proud of this game? What have you guys worked on that you're like, yeah, we did that?
I believe that the universe that we created is amazing. It has a lot of background from it. So for example, we even made some comics for it that we prepared. We have a lot of story, some crazy cinematics. So we're really proud of the universe that we created, this game that we made, and achieving what we did is what makes us feel proud. And now that we have partnered with you, getting to expand that universe and getting to get closer to our original concept and what we meant for it, that is something that makes us really happy.
Cool. Awesome. Speaking of partnership with us, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch on their brand new label?
That's really a amazing feeling for us. Koch really helped us and takes care of the operation that we couldn't make it for ourselves. They have an amazing team of QA localization, so we can reach different countries and players everywhere. We have a great producer that worked with us, helping us reach our goals and really deliver the game that we want. And without Koch opened the doors for us on that sense. And being part of this new label is a great opportunity for us, and also to know other game developers and expand the game community. And and to meet you as well. We really thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you guys on board. And more importantly, I am so excited to actually let people play this game at some point under this new label. So thank you so much for your time, Gabriel. It's been awesome talking to you. And let's release Dolmen at some point under the new label. Thank you for your time and see you later.
Thank you. See ya.
Now, the first title from Prime Matter will be the beautiful, highly anticipated King's Bounty 2. We have a first look at the gameplay trailer, and then Opal got a chance to sit down and talk with CEO Nikolai Baryshnikov.
The balance is off.
Es tut mir leid, dass ich so still bin, aber ich kann wirklich nichts mehr dazu sagen, was ich vorhin schon erwähnt habe.
King Claudius, my father, cannot lead, and his absence has set the realm in motion. Something is coming. Now the burden of the crown falls onto me. Nostria was flourishing.
Yeah.
But there is unrest.
It used to be beautiful here. My wife and I had a nice life then.
Conspiracy, sabotage, necromancy. They all threaten this land asunder. But we must unite, for distorted terrors are advancing. Rumors tell of a false prophet.
Das Problem ist, ich habe mir davon sehr irgendwie
A seer foretells that our
Irgendwie wird
savior
gerade alles so ziemlich in der Hand zerdrückt. So.
is among us. People of Nostria, you laid faith in my father, do so to me. We must look towards the horizon, fight back the darkness, and preserve the light of our land. For Nostria!
Okay. So. Was hat uns jetzt der Trailer gesagt, wenn man den Teil 1 nicht kennt? Genau. Nothing. Was ist das für ein Genre? Ist das Strategie? Rollenspiel? Action?
From 1C
Ich habe keine
Entertainment, who
Ahnung.
is CEO and creator of King's Bounty 2. So King's Bounty has been years in development and has a 30-year pedigree. So what is it that makes King's Bounty 2 so special?
The original King's Bounty was a grandfather of games of series like Heroes of Might and Magic. So it created these turn-based gameplay when you have a hex-based battlefield and the troops are moving in turns.
Okay.
Like chess pieces on the board. So I think that's the key, the cornerstone of King's Bounty.
Absolutely, and kind of speaking about that, and I know as you mentioned, the first King's Bounties was 1990, and then you had the King's Bounty that you guys created in the 2000s. What technical improvements now that we're in 2021 are you most excited about implementing into the new King's Bounty 2?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the core aspect of the game with tactical battles. And if in the previous games, the battlefield was always a flat surface, so now we're bringing the battlefield into 3D. So we will have, line of sights, hills, like simple example, if your archers are located on the hill, they will do like extra damage for the high ground, etc. So moving the battlefield to 3D is a huge step forward. And then the whole role-playing part, the exploration part, we decided to move more towards games like, Fable or Mass Effect, kind of, epic, big role-playing games, as opposed to have a top-down isometric view of, tiny little character on a horse just galloping around the map. So we are moving towards this kind of epic fantasy adventure. Because this is not like a small indie title anymore. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest production we've done in Moscow so far.
So speaking of the other King's Bounty games, will this King's Bounty 2 follow the other stories of the games, or will it be a standalone title?
No, the game will not follow on any previous games. But even the previous King's Bounty, they all sort of like disconnected. There was like the main protagonist, there are a bunch of like, evil guys. There's like a small quest. And I would say that a previous King's Bounty, it was not like an epic RPG adventure. So the game was more about just battling random monsters on the map and solving some little quests. And then King's Bounty 2 is really, a epic adventure. We have like thousands of hours solving puzzles, working with different factions, making decisions that change the character and the world. So we're really moving much more towards an epic RPG. However, this is a rare combination where our game, King's Bounty, is not an action RPG. It's not a Witcher game where you have to, quickly press buttons on your joysticks and battle enemies in the field. It's interesting crossbreed of a high fantasy role-playing game with a tactical strategy title, which it's not like quote unquote was never done on console, but this is fairly unique combination for the console. And
ich gucke jetzt nach, was King's Bounty 1 war. Das darf doch echt nicht wahr sein. Er hüpft ja mit den Genres ja auch durch die Gegend.
I was a huge fan of XCOM that was released in 1994, 1996. And the modern console reinventing of XCOM, this is something we're trying to achieve with King's Bounty, really make a modern game that works well on modern platforms, that works well with current understanding of games.
King's Bounty. Wobei hier steht es als King's Bounty The Legend is a tactical role-play game.
Cool, awesome. Kind of speaking about the story of King's Bounty 2 and how it differs, it appears to have a darker, more gritty aesthetic compared to its predecessors. What was the design philosophy around that? Why did you decide to go with that instead?
That's a interesting question. We've been debating on a design approach.
Das kam nicht von mir. Was war das denn? Jemand seinen USB-Stick rausgezogen.
Cartoonish kind of fancy indie look, but we decided we are now trying to play in different league. We're trying to make a much bigger title, a big game, an epic adventure. We've been astonished by modern fantasy titles both in Hollywood and in games, and we thought that this is a good idea actually to upgrade King's Bounty to what we call like high fantasy or like realistic fantasy. So it's not a dark fantasy like Kingdom Come when they're like dirty peasants, everything is bad. No, it's more like, as I said, like high fantasy. Epic characters. If there's a dragon, it looks like a dragon, not like a toy. If there's a villain, he or she looks like a real bad person. So that was the main philosophy. Plus, game development evolves, and I don't think that it's a good idea to take a game of 2008 and just make a replica.
Also ich schüttel jetzt nicht den Kopf, weil ich mit dem Spiel nichts anfangen kann oder den Entwickler nicht mag oder sonst irgendwas. Es ist einfach nur diese Machart. Dieses Interview ist viel zu lang. Ist null unterhaltsam. Es tut mir echt leid, aber das ist ein Schuss in den Ofen.
Yeah, so we've mentioned that this game combines different kind of play.
Das macht mich sogar jetzt. Also ich bin enttäuscht und jetzt werde ich sauer.
From third-person RPG elements to this unique fighting system, this kind of chess-like fighting system. Kind of, why did you choose, with the evolution of game design and how people play games, why did you choose to stick to these hybrid game mechanics? Do you think that this is kind of what makes King's Bounty?
Absolutely. I think you got it spot on, so I don't even need to answer. King's Bounty is again is a grandfather of turn-based games. So if you remove tactical combat from King's Bounty, then it becomes, I don't know, Mass Effect or Kingdom Come. So this is so we can play around.
Wie gesagt,
with
ich bleib dabei. Man hätte da locker ein paar Screenshots reinbauen können, Bilder, Konzeptart. Ja, aber ein Werbeevent muss unterhaltsam sein. Ich hätte jetzt schon abgeschaltet. Oder es eine parallel laufen lassen, hätten es halt Zelda weitergespielt. Das ist nicht gut. Dafür war das Event auch einfach viel zu hochgekocht.
Yeah, and in terms of, we've mentioned kind of this new 3D world that you're creating.
Ich habe, wie gesagt, nichts gegen den Entwickler, ich habe nichts gegen das Spiel. Ich kenne das Spiel nicht. Ich kann dazu nichts sagen. Ich finde nur dieses Event, es ist für mich keine Primetime, es ist für mich verschwendete Zeit.
What kind of caused you the most headaches?
Hard to say again. First of all,
ich gönne den Entwicklern wirklich die Zeit, um wirklich über ihr Spiel zu reden, hier und da, aber das hätte man anders machen können. Wirklich anders.
Just, let's say, PC title or just a PlayStation game, then you are not having a headache of porting to different platforms, getting different specifications, TCRs, approvals. So that adds a lot. And then secondly, the production itself, as soon as we went away from this kind of cartoonish easy-looking isometric view into a 3D high fantasy and the production of assets. So we wanted to build like a huge map. We wanted to populate this map with a lot of characters that would just move around, go somewhere, have their own like stories. Then we decided to, instead of having like text dialogues, we decided to produce a lot of engine-based cutscenes to push the story, to explain what's going on. So we even had to buy our motion capture studio.
Auch hier, es wird wieder das Motion Capture Studio erwähnt. Warum gibt es dazu keine Bilder? Um es mal zu zeigen. Auch unter Corona-Voraussetzungen. Verdammte Hacke nochmal.
That was another huge complication.
No, absolutely. And then the final question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new gaming label?
Oh, that provides us lot of additional support because I'm not sure that all gamers understand
Ist doch
how
egal, ob
games,
alle gleich aussehen.
get to the market. So
Hauptsache
making,
Bilder.
making
Hauptsache
a
mal was
game,
anderes.
writing pieces of code or drawing this amazing sketch of a dragon is only half of the
Aber
puzzle.
vielleicht lenkt es
Like,
auch zu sehr ab
yin-yang,
vom
you need
Monolog.
a lot of,
Ich weiß es nicht.
support,
Ich,
from production people, testing.
es ist schon frech, am Anfang zu sagen, so, ja, die meisten Spiele sind Pre-Alpha, einige sind wahrscheinlich noch gar nicht so weit, dass man überhaupt was zeigen kann. Das ist schon sehr, sehr waghalsig. Wahrscheinlich hätte man diese Koch Primetime auch einfach um 2 Jahre verschieben müssen. Aber
With Koch Media, that seemed to be the ideal partner. So we are on the market for many, many years, and I would say very honestly, I was personally a bit scared if we do it just ourselves, that we might not have the human resources to deliver the information about the game itself. We'll work with all the platform holders as effectively as in a co-production and co-publishing with such esteemed partners, Koch Media Embrace the group. So I'm quite happy.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, Nikolai. And I cannot wait for people to get their hands on King's Bounty too.
Oh, me too. Trust me, me too. After 2 years of development, that's going to be one of the most exciting days for me in 2021.
We have 12 titles. We keep saying it. And honestly, I shouldn't have a favorite. It's like picking between a favorite child. However, this next title speaks to me on a gaming level unlike any other. This third-person action-adventure shooter will keep you up at night tossing and turning with its horrific, nightmarish creatures. Think Alice in Wonderland meets Alien, or as one US journalist put it, Tomb Standing. Guys, sit back, relax, grab a pillow.
tue ich die ganze Zeit.
You
Versuch dir nicht durch den Bildschirm zu gehen.
exclusive look
Das ist echt.
at Scars Above.
Geil, wieder einen neuen Trailer. Ich freue mich über einen neuen Trailer.
Get to the bridge, please. Time to see what's inside our alien
Gucken wir
guest.
einfach mal.
Telemetry check.
Auch dieses World Premiere und das hätten die sich so sparen können. So inflationärer Mist, echt.
How is this possible?
Nächstes Jahr, wenn es nochmal so schlimm wird, trinke ich mir jedes Mal das World Premiere. Ich glaube, ich überlebe den Anfangsdings nicht. Das ist so inflationär. Ach, das hat man ja auch in diesem Primetime Trailer gesehen. Wo ich auch nicht zuordnen konnte. Also auch eine neue IP.
A targeted blast of electricity should cause a reaction.
Ist ja die Frage, für welche Zielgruppe ist dieser Stream gemacht? Vielleicht sind wir auch einfach nicht die Zielgruppe. Sweet. Erstmal die Klappen aufmachen und dann die Waffen rausziehen. Die Vera. Gott, ey. Hilfe.
What the hell was that? Log entry. The creature has multiple salivary glands in its thoracic region that seem to produce a highly venomous secretion. Wow. The whole place is covered with some kind of organic residue.
Also das Scan-Feature fand ich gerade nicht schlecht.
Looks like Robinson managed to connect the MPU to the pillar.
Okay, kann man noch Sachen zusammenbauen hier in, ich glaube, Munition, ne? Ne. Teile. Ah, okay.
This will help me get through that tissue webbing. And I'm taking the MPU.
Alien-Eier. Das sieht ein bisschen aus wie kleine Hydralisten.
Who were the architects of this place? Did they build these towering monuments to serve a purpose, or as a testament to their might? Were they looking for answers or solving a problem? Oh my god!
Also wenn ich drüber nachdenke, haben sich die Entwickler wahrscheinlich vieles von Rico abgeguckt.
This thing was huge.
Ja, günstig Werbung, ja. Kann man machen, aber wie gesagt, wie kann ich denn Werbung machen für Spiele, wo ich nichts zu zeigen habe? Das ist eigentlich viel gruseliger. Die haben halt dieses neue Brand, was sie gerne zeigen wollen natürlich dann in Zukunft wollen, aber im Endeffekt haben die jetzt aktiv, glaube ich, 2 Spiele gezeigt, wo Gameplay war, und aktiv ist das zu wenig. Oder ist es eine Stunde rum? Und das hier, was ihr gerade seht, ist quasi ein bisschen das Highlight von mir in dieser Show, neben Final Form. Es ist aber jetzt nichts, wo man jetzt sagen müsste, boah. Metroid Prime 4, nee, definitiv ist ja nicht Koch Media. Ist ja Nintendo, ist nicht Koch Media.
The appendages are dripping with the fluid that's freezing the water. There's the brain, and neural pathways leading to various organs. The pseudocerebrum seems to be generating an electrical charge. This neural pathway is conducting large amounts of bioelectricity. This gland is secreting the cryogenic fluid that's freezing the water.
Na, gehypt bin ich jetzt nicht. Also wie gesagt, ich habe mir wahrscheinlich auch was anderes vorgenommen oder so, aber das hat mich jetzt alles nicht vom Hocker gehauen. Das haut mich jetzt auch nicht vom Hocker, aber es ist halt nett.
The process seems to be aided by bioelectricity.
Wird man ja gleich bei dem mindestens viertelstundenlangen Interview hören, was es genau ist. Ist es ein Action-Adventure? Ist es vielleicht ein 3D-Metroidvania? Keine Ahnung.
That really was something, and last week Opal had a chance to talk to the developers, Mad Head Games, and ask them what their game was all about.
Hello there guys, joining me now from Novi Sad in Serbia is Ivan Zorkic, game director at Mad Head Games, who's going to tell us all about his new project. So Ivan, what's Scars Above all about?
Hey there. Scars Above, an alien object appears near Earth, and a team of astronauts is sent to explore it, to do a close-range scan, However, for some reason that I don't want to go into now, this results in them like in an event which causes them to be transported to an unknown alien planet. So our protagonist, Kate Ward, who is a mission specialist, she's an astrobiologist with a background in engineering. She's one of the members of the team of astronauts, of the team called SCAR team, which is Sentient Contact Assessment and Response. So she is on the ship doing the scan, and she ends up on this stranded on this alien planet. So one moment she's with her team in the ship, and the other moment she's on this strange planet alone. So she explores, she finds out that her team is also stranded on the planet. She has to find them first. And it seems that some time has passed. She doesn't understand why. And also the planet is very hostile. So there's a bunch of dangerous creatures, monsters, and everything seems to want to kill her and the rest of her crew. So she needs to
Kein Problem, MGT.
find out what's going on.
Hab noch einen wunderschönen Abend.
How did they end up here?
Und lass
what
dich
does this planet want from them? And the story unravels, so she actually learns about the place and learns about the mystery behind
Ich glaube,
it.
morgen wird, glaube
But
ich,
it's all about,
wobei,
being stranded
Collective
on this kind of scary, but also in a way strangely beautiful
Habt noch einen schönen Abend und einen schönen Freitag, schönen
monsters.
Yeah. So it's like kind of keeping on that theme of the realm of possibility and whatnot. How much in the game has its roots in the real world, and how much is just plain crazy sci-fi?
Well, it's mostly sci-fi, but the themes come from the real world. So they're inspired by the real world. I think the best stories come from the real world, even if they're about, as I said, dragons or fairy tales, and of course spaceships and space exploration. Like there's always this component. So on one level, Scars Above is about reason versus terror. And this is a very important topic to me, and that's a very real world topic for me. Like in our world, a lot of bad things come out of fear.
Irgendwann kommt
and,
One More Thing.
This
und dann weiß man
fear,
okay,
gives birth to some unreasonably dark actions, which lead to more bad things and more fear and more bad things. And in a way, Scars Above is like, for me, a metaphor for reason standing up against terror. Science against darkness. Knowledge against ignorance.
So apart from kind of staying within sci-fi and obviously that kind of opening up the possibility that this can actually happen makes sci-fi what it is there any other important reason to you to keep, that sense of realism still there in the game?
So there is there is a reason to keep realism, but I think the better word is to make it believable. So, if you go for absolute realism, you're kind of limited on, what you can tell, the story you can tell. It kind of is like there is fiction element to the sci-fi, right? But we want to make it believable. And the reason why this is important is because I would like to create this what if vibe. I would like it if people actually ask themselves, like, what if this really happened? What would I do if I were suddenly stranded somewhere on this strange, far away from home world, surrounded with monsters and terrors? Like, if you make this believable, people might actually think more about it. So we don't want to go like super realistic. But we do want to make it believable so that, because immersion is really important, so that people get immersed in this world and start thinking like, what would I do if I was in this situation, and, what if this was really like, what if this happens someday? What if an alien object does appear near Earth someday, and what would happen?
Absolutely. And then you mentioned the lead protagonist, Kate Ward. You told about her job title. What else about her? Who is she? Why is she?
Kate is awesome. We love her. So Kate is a very strong and very capable, but also a very caring person. So she's an astronaut. She's a scientist, a team member, a colleague, an explorer, and she always has like this childlike scientific curiosity. But one thing she is not, and that's a warrior, like a trained warrior. She's not a soldier, so she's not like a space commando or anything. And and she does end up in a situation where like she needs to fight for her life. So that's a theme that's kind of like really interesting to us. Because the fact that she's not a trained combatant doesn't mean she's not capable. So she has like a strong will, a sharp mind.
Nicht trainiert
and
konnte
she's
sie aber
very
gut
brave
schießen.
and tough. But like she's under tremendous stress in our game, and we want to show how vulnerable she is, how scared she is, how distressed. Because true courage doesn't it doesn't come out of lack of fear. It comes in face of fear. So we do want to show this fear, and it's actually like this. The fact that she's overcoming this, like fighting her emotions, fighting all the stress, that makes her courageous, and that's great. So she gets frightened, she fights her emotions, she's susceptible to panic, which I think kind of makes her relatable. Like she's not like I'm all out of gum, I'm kicking ass and chewing bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum. Like that's not her. She is like her heart pounds, her voice breaks, she trembles. But then, and that's what I really like when her voice breaks, when she's like really scared, but she like clenches her fist, and the adrenaline kicks in, and she pushes through, no matter the obstacle, and she does it using her mind, and using science and using her cunning to craft these weapons and gadgets and survive against the odds.
Auch hier nochmal. Hier hätte man auch super noch ein paar Mal den Trailer nochmal so richtig schön reinblättern können, aber ich habe ja, ich bin ja nur Content Creator und habe ja keine Ahnung. Bloß nicht zu viel machen. Ist ja sonst viel zu teuer.
The commander of the mission, Commander Robinson,
Ärgerlich.
Robinson, and he is like a person with a military background, like a pilot and an officer, and like he is the commander after all. But the rest of the team are mission specialists, because and this is also kind of like the idea that it's this alien object appears, we send scientists and explorers trying to figure what's going on. So Kate is joined by her close friend Tamara, who is and also like a scientist and an astronaut, and by Mike, a little bit younger member of the team, but who is also like a communications expert, and like they're all scientists working together to solve this mystery. But Kate does get separated from them, and part of the game is actually uncovering the fate of her other team members, and I don't want to spoil anything, but Kate obviously cares a lot about her teammates and her friends.
Speaking of best feelings that you can have, what are you most proud of up to date of Scars Above?
I'm actually gonna give you a corny but very true answer. I'm most proud of the team. So like making a game is a huge effort, and it requires a lot of hard work, focus, energy, dedication, but also like cooperation, communication, support. So it's just like looking at a group of people working together on a common goal, that's really inspiring. And I think that's truly the case with any development team. Like when you ask them like what you're most proud of, and I keep thinking like one day in the far future, I may actually forget some of the details during the development, but I will always remember the people I worked with.
That's awesome. And then last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new publishing label?
There's a bunch of benefits, but like, having access to certain resources, to experience. This is a game, with many firsts for us. So having someone to just like, share thoughts and share the experience is really valuable. But, on a personal level, I have to say this, and I'm being perfectly honest, like the biggest benefit for me was meeting a bunch of great people on your side. And I truly mean this, like it's a continuing pleasure to work with you, not just, not just talking about the game or how we can make it better, but, just like we talk a lot, as you know, like we chat about various things. Just meeting you guys, like it's a tremendous boost to what we're doing. And I don't want to downplay like the obvious benefits, because there's a lot of them, like their infrastructure, the resources. But for me personally, it's just like meeting and getting to hang out with you guys. That's really awesome.
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure to hang out with you as well, Ivan. And thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to let people play Scars Above, because I know that we have so much fun with it in the office. So thank you very much. And yeah, we can't wait to see more.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to people playing the game. We're really excited about it. So, and thank you for this talk. Yeah.
And now for something completely different. When Brian Fargo himself, the granddaddy of top-down isometric RPGs, says he is excited about a game, that's gotta mean Prime Matter is getting something right. Encased is an isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG scheduled for release this autumn. And this new trailer, which we're unveiling today, will give you a pretty good flavor of what the game is all about.
It's 1976, and the future has arrived. But here's the skinny. We at Cronus need you. Cronus was formed after a dome-like structure was discovered 5 years ago. Was it from our ancient past? Was it made by aliens? Does it run on perfectly harmless nuclear power? We need to know, and humanity is waiting for you to help unlock its secrets. Descend into the dome itself and join one of our incredible research teams. The only question is, which wing of Cronus is the best fit for you? If you like taking orders, cracking heads, ultra-violence, and guns, lots of guns, then the Black Wing is for you. Can you build and repair incredible technology, but not expect any credit for it? You sound like an engineer to us. Welcome to the Blue Wing. Are you a doctor, scientist, mathematician, or any other type of brainiac? We've got you covered in the White Wing. Do you like taking credit for the hard work of others, but never do anything yourself? Those forms won't fill themselves. That's management, mister. And the Silver Wing awaits. Are you a criminal, prisoner, or have no discernible skills whatsoever? Then you're coming to the Orange Wing, like it or not. Are you ready for adventure? Are you ready to make the change with us? Are you ready to love it so much that you'll never want to leave? Then join Cronus and take the second giant leap for mankind under the dome.
That's not all. Opal got to sit down with the creative brains behind Encased. Check it out.
Let's go to St. Petersburg in Russia and speak to Vyacheslav Kosahin, creative director of Dark Crystal Games and the brains behind their upcoming isometric RPG Encased. So, Slava, what is Encased?
So Encased is an old-school RPG in the sci-fi post-apocalyptic setting, basically.
Awesome. So the name Encased is kind of, you know, it's a word and it has various meanings. What's the thinking behind the name?
The thinking behind the name comes from the setting of the game, from one main entity of it, which is the dome. The game takes place in the anomalous zone called the dome, which was found somewhere in the last unknown desert on the Earth and on our planet. And well, basically people who get in there, various scientists, technicians, soldiers and adventurers, they can get back. This is sort of a one-way road. So those guys who explore the dome, they're encased in there, which I think makes some sense in this regard.
Absolutely. Yes. So I know that you guys have been developing this game for kind of a long time now. How long has it actually taken to get to the point where you are now?
So we are developing the game for 3.5 years now. We started late in 2017 with some pre-production, but obviously we have thoughts about a project like this
Bist du
for
schon durch den
years and
TV?
years before that.
Ja, mein
before
zweites
those
Ich ist schon auf dem Weg zur
crystallized
guten
in
Dame, um
something,
mir den Hals
you know,
zu
something that really exists.
Also
So it
es
takes
tut mir echt
10
leid für die
years of
Entwickler,
thinking
weil man
behind
hätte die
this
Spiele
game, this
besser
project, and
besser
3.5
darstellen können.
years of
Hier,
actual
er
production
quatscht
time
über
to
das
this-
Spiel,
to
über
this time,
sein
to this
Spiel
point.
und es
So
kommt
considering how
nichts,
long
was
it
man
takes,
irgendwie sagen könnte,
how
das
do you
ist
guys
das Spiel, was
keep
ich
yourself
entwickle. Dafür
so
stehe ich
motivated
mit
just
meinem
on
Namen.
one, like,
So
particular
gut.
title?
Well, we can't say we
Und
have
Sie
any
als
problems
Interviewführer,
with motivation on our own, because for most,
es ist
if not
interessant, wie
everyone
Entwickler
on the
da zusammenkommen, wie
team,
lange
this
die
is the
entwickeln und
dream
so weiter. Aber
project that
Mamma
comes to
mia.
life. So that's fine in this regard. The motivation is always high, but also we are in the early access. And we're really open with the community from the very early stages of the project. And because of this openness and talks with the community, and we have had a crowdfunding, and that now we are in the early access, we have this constant feedback on the project, both positive and sometimes negative, which obviously keeps us motivated. If we would be on our own for those like 3.5 years and some extra time we'll spend
ist jetzt,
on
glaube ich, das
developing
zweite
this
oder
game,
dritte Spiel, was
maybe the
gecrowdfundet
motivation could decline a
Ist
little
okay.
bit, but with those constant talks with the community,
hatte ja auch was beim Trailer, etwas, was irgendwie was
and
von
then kind of bring
X
it
kommt.
back to the game.
Also
Given
Isometric
how
Strategie
development
ist
and
eigentlich
technology
in so
often
einer
is
apokalyptischen
dictates how
Setting
the game
ist,
evolves throughout its development. How
ist noch
close
nicht
to the
komplett
original
aufgebaut.
concept
Kann
that you
man
came
machen.
up with years and years ago are you now with the game that you have currently?
The overall concept,
Aber
we managed
diese
to
Interviews
keep
sind
it,
viel
keep
zu
it
lang.
alive. We managed to keep it true. It's a very old school CRPG type game, which is inspired by many golden classics of late 90s and early 2000s. And in that regard, it all those ideas survived through the process, which is really great. Most of the mechanics, abilities, perks, and all those
Eine
little
Pflichtlänge für die Shows.
things
Ach du
which
Scheiße.
these RPGs are built from, we managed
Ich
to
will es mir nicht vorstellen, oder Jeff Kelly da
put
steht
it
so,
in there
ihr
too,
müsst 1,5
but
Stunden machen.
obviously, because
Kriegt ihr keine
technology
Gage.
changed and even,
Ey, bitte nicht.
time passes, some
Vor 1,5 Stunden
less
dachte ich so, wie
important things,
sollen
I'd
sie
say,
in
like
dem Tempo
maybe
die 12
graphics or
12
maybe
Titel
art
durchballern?
style beats
Heute
or
jetzt gerade
maybe
denke ich mir
some
nur,
topics
wann
and
ist der
themes.
Kram endlich
We
vorbei?
explore those, transformed and changed during the process, because making games and RPGs particularly, it's an iterative process and takes
wär
many
heftig.
iterations to figure out what is the heart, what is the idea you want to bring to the
Wie gesagt,
players.
es tut mir wie gesagt
So
für diese
those
ganzen Entwickler hier unter dem
transformed
Label,
and
es ist schon
crystallized
großartiges
during
Label, man
this long
kriegt Unterstützung, man
development. But the
arbeitet
original
miteinander,
concept,
vielleicht
the very
tauscht man
heart
sich
of
auch
it,
aus, ne?
it's
Ja,
all in
hier,
there,
pass auf, ich habe auch
which is
hier
really
Dev-Kiste
great.
von
Yeah,
einer
so
alten
speaking
Xbox
about
One, die
the
man ja auch
concept,
gesehen hat bei
what's the actual
Dolman.
narrative of Encased?
Aber es
The
ist
story
echt,
of Encased is the story
es ist
about
nicht gut gemacht,
exploring
es ist
this
null
anomalous
unterhaltsam.
zone, the dome.
Und es tut mir für die
The
Entwickler, die
player
jetzt hier gerade ihre
starts
Lebensgeschichte
as
erzählen,
an
auch echt
employee
leid.
of this Cronus organization, which is the only organization that controls entire dome research and studying. There are 5 departments which are called wings. A player can start in, which affects the
Nein, das hat ja
game
mit
a lot, and the
Entertainer
story
zu
of
tun.
the
Im Endeffekt,
game.
Entertainer ist quasi
This
die,
is
die Interview
black
führt. Die hätte die
wing,
richtigen
which
Fragen
are
stellen können.
the security and police services. There are white wing, which are
Genau.
scientists
Bilder.
and medics.
Mensch,
There is
er erzählt gerade über die
silver
komplette
wing,
Welt.
which
Es
are
wird nicht
the
ein Bild
management
gezeigt.
and,
Macht's den Leuten
ruling,
doch schmackhafter.
wing of the dome, of
Und
the
wenn es
Cronus.
nur eine
There
blöde
are
Konzeptzeichnung
blue
eines
wing,
blöden
which are
Fasses ist.
technicians and
Es wird mir reichen.
engineers, and there is this special orange wing which is contains
Und keiner kann mir sagen, dass sie das
which
nicht haben.
were freed to go to the dome to do various manual labor.
So you've mentioned that the game is set in the early 70s. Not many games have been set in that time period. What prompted you to pick
Wir
that
sind halt
specific
verwöhnt von
time
großen
period?
und
Well, we
Blockbuster-Spielen.
think
Ja, aber
then
es
the
ist
70s
es wird
perfect
hier von
time
einem
for
Premium
like our gaming
Gaming
what we are doing.
Sparte
Because
Primetime
70s
ge-
is like
berichtet
the last
und es
tick
und
on
die
the
Spiele werden hier nicht
timeline of the
gewürdigt genug in
humanity,
meinen Augen.
while
Die Entwickler
there
werden
were
hier
some blind spots
vorgeführt.
on the planet.
Und die Interviewweise
First
ist nicht
satellites
gut.
and first people in space, it's all happened in late 50s and early 60s, right? And 70s is the last spot on the timeline when there's some, you know, when satellites do not have this complete web
Vielleicht war das ja auch voraufgenommen
the
worden.
Earth and the planet, and there
Ne,
is
Jeff
some
Keighley hat
blind
ja
spots
bei einigen
where,
Entwicklern gesagt, ja, vor einer Woche hat
such
sie mit
an
ein paar Leuten
amazing
geredet.
and dangerous place like Dome can be hidden. And from that place, from that time, the story takes its alternative path. Instead of going further to the space, humanity sort of descends into the dome to study it and to do those scientific researches and do those miraculous discoveries, basically.
Yeah, so you mentioned that this is kind of like a
Aber wie gesagt, das ist
almost a
jedem
parallel
das
universe.
Also,
How
ich
far
hätte mich
did
über
you
ein paar
deviate
Einblendungen,
from
die
what
genau
like
dann halt auch das, was er
actually
sagt, dann
happened in the
eventuell dann noch
70s compared to what happens in the game? I guess it seems as you said that it
anheben,
devolves quite a
aufwerten,
bit.
hätte ich
Yeah,
schön
obviously.
gefunden.
So the
Nur ein
main
bisschen.
topic would be obviously that instead of continuing the
Aber allgemein
Cold
Interviews
War,
sind so lange.
the West and the East, if we can call those, they
Ich würdige gerade den
instead
Entwickler.
start to
Es tut mir
explore
leid.
the ideas
Kann mich
of
dafür nur
like
entschuldigen.
internationalism and exploring the dome together and forming that super corporation Cronus, which is actually the only foundation that explores the dome, controls all the researches and controls the flow of like artifacts and scientific researches
Und ich entschuldige mich
which
auch
comes
dafür, dass ich
from
jetzt
the
parallel
dome
News
into
esse.
the
Ich hab Hunger.
well, the rest of the world.
Und der Stream
And
lenkt mich leider nicht genug ab.
those ideas are quite different from what happened in the real world, I guess.
And kind of bringing it back to the real world almost. Obviously, you guys are based in Russia, and life in the 70s was very different than life was in the West. How much of that do you think translates to an international audience once we get out there? And how much do you think people won't understand because they just, you know, no one kind of really lived over there or no one really knew what was happening over there?
Well, as I said, I think the game pursues the ideas of internationalism when very different parties across the world could put their own struggles, political and other struggles aside to humanity become something bigger when it's combined with everyone is united together to, you know, to ascend to be something more and to explore the dome, its dangers and its discoveries, basically.
Absolutely. Now bringing it kind of back to you
Alles
guys
klar,
and
Martin,
the
dann wünsche ich dir noch
developers
einen
again.
schönen Freitagabend.
You mentioned that you were inspired by other
Schlag gut.
games. What games like really truly inspired it? Not just games, but media, and also what do you and the team like as well when it comes to video games?
Well, we are here all the, you know, hardcore RPG fans. So it's not secret why we, I suppose, picked up a project like this to develop, and it's not a secret that the game is it's in a very hard way was inspired by the Fallout series, well, and the other great RPG games of late 90s and early 2000s, and some modern ones too, actually.
So speaking about development, what was the hardest part of making the game for you guys?
I think the easier question would be what was the easy part. I can't really come with much things which were easy. It's all it's an everyday struggle in a way. It's a marathon but it's a happy marathon, and it's a happy everyday struggle basically for us.
Absolutely. And then moving it into that more positive thing, the happy marathon, what are you most proud of when it comes to Incast?
I'm obviously proud of both the team and the project itself, because both us here in the team and our community, we often forget that 3.5 years ago there was nothing, there was emptiness, nothing existed. And here now, 3.5 years later, both with the team effort and the feedback which we get from the community, there is this great universe, a curious world which is almost ready to be explored and to be adventured inside, basically.
And then moving on to the last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch Media and being on their new label?
So we think that signing with a partner as Koch Media is really great, because it not only benefits us as developers, but such partnership also benefits our community, our players. We as developers, we get more time to work on the project and polish it so it would be in the perfect state, while our players will enjoy more localizations which will make the game more accessible to the wider audience. We'll get the voiceover done, which just make the game better and bring it on some other higher level.
Okay. Ich glaube, Early Access wurde auch gerade genannt, auch Crowdfunding wurde genannt, dass da eine Community auch dahinter steht. Das ist super. Das freut mich für die nächste
This team all the way from Iceland specifically built a mocap studio for this title and has the incredible talent Aldous Hamilton as their lead protagonist. I got to sit down with the guys and ask them, what is this game all about?
So Echoes of the End is a cinematic, narrative-driven action-adventure game about Rin, a person who has trained all her life to be a warrior in service to a throne, and is now searching and finding her own identity as she's cast away from the life she's always known. It's a game we wanted to make all our lives, basically. And for us, what we really wanted to explore was a marriage of a cinematic experience and the narrative, choice-driven storytelling of RPGs. Finding that bridge and union is what really inspired us to go and make our own video game.
Exactly, and such a big integral part of the experience is how you as a player choose to interact with the characters around you, the different companions, the characters that you'll run into when you're going about in the game and trying to solve all the issues that the player that you'll be facing as a player.
What was the inspiration behind it?
We're at a remarkable point in the game industry where, you know, a relatively small team is able to tackle such an ambitious vision, and it's actually reasonable. And I think we've just recently arrived at that point. You know, there have been some really great games making leaps in the past few years, kind of paving the way for this as the tools and hardware and software get more accessible and affordable for smaller developers. We kind of, you know, in the early days of Midgard, we came to realize that a game like this might be possible. And it seemed unreal to us that it might be at the time. But, you know, growing the team and building up the tech and pipelines in-house, you know, we saw that this was, in fact, possible. And it's an absolute dream for everyone at the company to, you know, be privileged enough to work on a game like this and to really shape the game that we all want to make.
Yeah, so kind of sticking on that point of development and how technology often drives the direction of how a game evolves throughout its development. How close to the original concept is the game now?
That's a really good question. So it's rather close. Like, I would say we didn't really do any large pivots. We did make some changes, of course, as the vision evolved and as we understood better kind of what the game was going to be and kind of how we scoped it to fit a team that would be able to execute on it. But I think, you know, we were always, you know, from day one that the idea for the game kind of conceptualized, we were looking at the technology that was allow us to make this game, you know, going for really, you know, realistic and stunning visuals, digital doubles for characters, scanned environments, next-gen development engines, next-gen game engines, kind of all those things were in place for us to make the game. I think the primary things that have changed in the making of the game are more in the details of the execution of that, how we structure the story, what kind of game mechanics we want in a game like that, and really what the identity of our game is and how we separate that from other games.
So we genuinely have been making this game. This game, even though it is slightly different, my work as narrative director has not had to change a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've mentioned obviously at the start and throughout what we've spoke about so far that you guys are based in Iceland, and everyone knows the picturesque scenery of Iceland. Did you get much inspiration from your homeland in the environment?
Yes, absolutely. Iceland is such a phenomenal place to live in, and it's a beautiful country that's been featured in, many films and video games before us. And the funny thing is that us growing up in Iceland, this is normalcy for us. This is what we've been used to.
Interessante Diskussion.
We visit other countries that we realize that the rest of the world isn't a fantasy land.
Oh my God,
wahrscheinlich frisch eingerichtete Studio. Man sieht die Ikea-Regale, die sind auch ziemlich leer.
And I was working as a tour guide for the longest time, and a lot of us
und ich habe leider
from different
aus dem
locations.
aus diesem Interview noch keinen, also ich kann es mir noch nicht mal vorstellen, was die da gerade entwickeln.
In the game, but the game itself isn't based in Iceland, of course.
Ich habe noch nie mal einen blassen Schimmer, wie der Titel heißt, irgendwas mit Echoes.
Level vistas and visuals.
Because while all this is true, while we love Iceland and while we'd be fools not to utilize the access we have to Icelandic natural phenomena to scan and take references from, we don't want to make a game about Vikings because it's something that's been done, and we really want to make a unique IP that is ours, and that no one seems to.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on characters, and you mentioned the main character at the very start. Tell us about her. Tell us, what made you choose her? Why does she exist the way that she exists?
I'll hand that one off to you, I think.
Yeah, it's always a tricky question to answer without getting into any sort of spoilers.
Yeah.
But Ren is, as I say, she is a character, a person trained from birth to be a weapon in service to the crown. I was really fascinating in exploring the difference between a person that is, the juxtaposition between purpose and independence. And Rin is a character burdened by purpose and chained to it. She has been given a purpose, not of her own choosing, not by her own volition, but one that she has inherent to her birth and very existence. Throughout this game in particular, we want to explore the journey of going beyond that purpose and going beyond what role you are born into and seizing the world by the throat, basically. And I would say that she's born with certain powers that make her both a pariah and a uniquely powerful individual. But with that power come certain challenges and certain superstitions that she's challenged to overcome. I think that's general enough to avoid spoilers.
Ich kann den gerade gar nicht folgen. Ich versuche auch gerade irgendwie
herauszufinden,
welche Spiele.
With the main character, she's, throughout the game, you're constantly meeting new people. We're setting her in, we start with her familiar setting, her kind of role in society and her kind of what's expected of her, and we kind of break free from that throughout the game as we meet different characters, and Rin kind of finds her own path and purpose, like Magnus spoke on. And I think that's really where the player also steps in and kind of forms those new relationships that Rin forms throughout the game, and really is an effector on those. I think what really heightens Rin as a character in the game is the performance by the excellent actress behind her, who is Aldís Hamilton.
Hier eiskalt, wenn ich euch Bilder zeigen würde, ihr würdet mich auslachen.
Such an awesome character.
What's the hardest part of game
Aber auch hier wären Bilder sehr vorteilhaft, weil man hat kein bisschen schon von ihr reden.
But what's been the most challenging?
Außer man guckt jetzt gerade parallel bei Google nach Echos auf.
I think that's a different answer for every
end.
Yes, I think that's a different answer for every
Blende
game.
mal ein.
I think it even might be a different
Schwierig.
answer for every team member, depending on the different perspective that they have into the game development. I think for us,
Du
it's
löst
been
unser Leiden.
vitally important to find the right people to work
guck mal,
with.
was ich machen kann. Moment.
And that's a really difficult thing to
Ich
do,
höre ja
finding the
parallel.
right people who you believe in and who are really passionate about making games like this. And we've been lucky enough to find the right people so far, and we have, exceptionally talented people
Gucken, was passiert.
on board
Jo,
with us
genau das
making
wollte ich
this
nicht.
game.
Oh, der arme Typ
And I think while
ausgeblendet
that is, often from the outset, it's an invisible part of game development, but it's absolutely essential and extremely difficult.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned before that, Iceland's quite small.
Gibt's nämlich auch
Does that mean
Bilder?
that you guys kind of struggle to
Kein
find
Gameplay?
that talent that's out there, or
Weil ich auch jetzt
is
echt
it
gucken.
quite rich in terms of game development?
Narrative, Action,
As
Adventure,
usual, Iceland is excellent per capita.
auf
we're
Basis der Unreal
at everything
Engine
per
5
capita.
angekündigt.
And among those in the Nordics, we have the most developers per capita. That's not really a useful metric when you look at the fact that we're only like 300,000 people,
Ja.
basically a small fisher town someplace. But Iceland is completely unique in the way that CCP, another pretty well-known developer here in Iceland, kind of paved the way for all the other game developers here that are now thriving. We have a great educational infrastructure that pretty much covers all the different fields of game development here in Iceland. So we have exceptional talent coming out. And so I think, considering the size, we have great access to talent. And another part of it is that we've had a lot of Icelanders who got into game development early and moved to other countries and then moved back with a lot of experience, helping new teams form and build
Ja,
games.
ich blende es
So while it's definitely a challenge to
Nein, das war's
find
falsch.
people in a smaller nation,
Also im
we're
Endeffekt
blessed by the
reden
fact
die
that we do
gerade
have
von dem
exceptional
Spiel.
talent here, and we have an educational system that is actively each year
Tada.
graduating new students who know game development.
What Haldor is saying is that we're a nation of nerds.
Yes. And like another per capita is that, I don't know, it's an incredibly high number of people in
Die
Iceland.
Studioeinrichtung, mein Gott, das ist ich glaube, das sind frische,
Yeah, that's really
ein frisch
crazy.
gegründetes Studio, wahrscheinlich gerade frisch
we kind of
umgezogen.
mentioned what's the most difficult part about game development, but
Ja,
what are you most proud
da sind die
of
Regale halt noch leer. Die füllen sich alle nach. Das dauert Jahre, bis sich solche Regale von Entwicklern
Because
füllen.
there's so many things. I mean, making games is, it takes
Ne?
so
Also,
many people
ich finde, das
to
sieht
do
auch
so
gut
many
aus.
things for it to go correctly. And I think what we're most proud of is that so far we seem to be doing it correctly.
Jetzt da weiß man zumindest,
with the great
wovon
people.
geredet
So I think what we're most proud of is the team and the progress that we made with this.
Aber wie gesagt,
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer in general. That just the
also auch
talent
wenn ich
we've
weiß,
collected
dass es
around
eventuell
us and
stören
the
könnte und
friendships
ablenkend
that
sein
have
könnte,
formed so
aber
strongly
hier
within this
weiß
company.
man hier weiß man wirklich
I
nie,
think
wovon
that's
man redet.
invaluable.
Außer
That
man
is what's
man
going
verfolgt
to
dieses Spiel.
drive it forward.
And then, finally, guys, what are the benefits of signing up with a
Das betrifft aber gefühlt jedes Spiel in dieser Präsentation.
and being part of their brand new label?
Wenn der keinen Trailer hat, weiß man nie, wovon man redet.
So obviously we touched on the part that we're kind of
Wie lange das
stuck in
Event
Iceland.
geht?
So our
Keine
audience is
Ahnung.
quite limited on an island in the sea.
Ich weiß
No,
es
but
nicht.
all jokes aside, the main benefit is that it's an extension of the team, and it's a great extension of the team. We talk about the things that have been the most difficult, and that's building the team, and the things that we're most
Ist halt
proud
für
of,
Koch Media
is again the team
Okay.
that we built. And for us, Koch is a fantastic extension to the team. It's a publisher full of great people who are really
mein Gott, ich
passionate
find
about
die beiden
games,
sympathisch.
and they're empowering
Als
us to
Brillenträger,
deliver these games.
haben noch ein relativ leeres Büro.
worldwide. And I think
Anhand der
that
Plätze würde
is
ich jetzt mal tippen, es sind
anything
4, 5,
developer
6
and
Leute
business
da.
developer could ask for in a publisher.
Ist okay.
And we are absolutely glad to have you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and I
Also
cannot
ich fand
wait
das
to give people
Scars
more
Above
information about
relativ
Echoes of the End.
gut.
From
Und auch
one
das
side of the
Final
world
Form
all the way to the
fand ich auch
other.
nicht schlecht.
If you like the game Gothic and hardcore RPGs, the last
Das Witzige
Oracle
ist, wenn
just
man
for you.
wühlt,
I got to sit down with two of the guys from Gold Knights and talk all about them and their new game.
dann findet man
Hello
auch
there,
die
guys.
12
Today I am
Titel, die
joined
angekündigt
by
worden
Gold
sind.
Knights creative and game director Pavel Stranad and executive producer Vladimir Gershil to talk about their game, The Last Oricru.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul.
So you guys make The Last Oricru. What is the game about?
It's an action RPG where I try to show the relativity of good and evil from different perspectives of living and breathing world.
So when you guys say live in and breathe,
das war ziemlich kurz.
what do you mean exactly?
It is important to understand that The Last Oricru is quite challenging and skill-based RPG, but compared to many other titles in this genre, our story does not take place in some dark and deadly realm. Waking up in a living and breathing
Alles klar, Monty, dann wünsche ich dir auch einen wunderschönen Freitag, eine wunderschöne Freitagnacht und hab einen guten Start ins Wochenende, ne?
There is something interesting about the war. As usually,
Das Konzept der Show, ja. Es wird darauf hinauslaufen. Ja, die werden sich ja Kritik angucken und dieses Jahr vielleicht ein bisschen
So the idea of the game is to show the player the war and the euphoria of the winners, but also the misery of the losers. To make the player realize that the number of decisions he can make in the game will affect all the living beings in the world.
Alles klar, dann wünsche ich dir auch einen schönen Freitagabend. Mach's gut.
How impactful are they?
The impact is major. First of all, you are the one who decides which side will win the war. But there are many different roads.
Ja klar, wurde am Anfang auch hingewiesen. Alpha und rein theoretisch zeigbar und so weiter, wurde darauf hingewiesen, ja.
And try not to push any moral code of what is wrong and what is
Morgen
right.
Ubisoft, ja.
Simply, you make the decision and actions, and based on that, individual characters have their own reactions. This creates different situations, so you can find your own friends and allies and apply the way how you think it's right or fun.
Exactly. Each player can define their own path to side with different factions or betray them and influence the future of each race and in the end the entire planet, basically. And it is not done just by choices somewhere in dialogues or by completing some quests, but by your continuous actions and decisions. Let me give you an example. In many scenarios, you are asked to kill the general of Earthkin people. And you can obviously refuse doing that, but if you decide to kill him, there are many possibilities of what you can do with his head, which serves as a proof of his death. You can keep it and become hero, or you can give it to the queen and come closer to her heart, or you can give it to another characters of this conflict with different outcomes.
While I'm playing, guys, if I decide to be a little bit mischievous and kind of go down the route of everyone hating me, what does that mean for me?
Yes, there is an option that you will try to do as much harm to do as many beings as possible, and there are some dark characters that will be pleased by that. However, cooperation with them may be eventually very painful for you. That's another interesting thing, that often there is some hidden party involved in many wars, which profits from both sides of the conflict and the conflict itself. So that's a bit of the hidden part in the game, which you can play, but it will be a little bit difficult to play.
So the game has co-op. Can a friend help me with the boss battles? Can we play the whole entire game together? How does this work?
You know those lonely nights when you play games which are super exciting for you, but you feel a little bit sad that you cannot share that experience with anyone? That was generally the idea.
Yeah, there is a great demand for couch play in the whole third-person action RPG genre. So we are sure that for our future audience, the co-op is going to be one of the most, or the key features of our game. And that's why we went even farther. We have many situations what can be solved in co-op differently than in single player. So you can find new fun ways of how to kill some bosses, or solve some puzzles, or reach some special secret areas. But you know, at the end of the day, combat is bread and butter of an RPG. So if you, for example, play as a melee tank, while the second player plays a magic support, you will enjoy tens of awesome hours of shared fun.
Oh, wait, so you're telling me there's magic and melee? What does this mean for the combat of the game?
Well, the combat is targeted at more experienced players. I'm very much on the wave of recent challenging RPGs that are based on the skills of the player, timing and stamina. We are trying to build some interesting magic mechanism in the game that would let you use some more than block and fast attack buttons.
But, you know, don't forget that our world has sci-fi.
Also vielleicht ist ja auch die Show so konzipiert, dass man parallel zum Stream sich den Rechner schnappt, Handy rausholt oder den Doktor anschmeißt und mal einfach guckt, was das überhaupt ist.
Guys, I just want to ask you, what does it mean to be under Koch Media's brand new label?
Und ohne Witz, das sieht gut aus, wenn ich mir die Doktorbilder so angucke. Warum wird nichts in diesem Entwickler-Interview eingebaut?
Full creative control over the game and all the feedback we are getting is really helping us to make better games. So far it was the best decision ever.
Sehr, sehr sad.
Yeah, I'm very pleased that I could use my long-standing
Also ich war
experience
enttäuscht,
with big publishing
sauer,
houses and restructure
jetzt
the
ist es nur noch
game and the
traurig,
team to
in meinen
shape,
Augen.
which was the
Es tut
right
mir für die
fit for
Entwickler
such
so
a
leid,
strong
so leid.
partner
Das
as
ist
a Koch
werbetechnischer
Media.
absolute
From
Grütze.
the very beginning of our cooperation with Pavel,
Man kann
we
sich
were
darunter
thinking
nichts
big
vorstellen, wenn die
and
erzählen.
aiming at
Dabei könnte man
building a
so
really memorable
einfach
new
mal,
game franchise.
es existieren Bilder, aber nur ein paar, nicht zu viele.
New Koch Media label gives us a great opportunity.
Auch als der Entwickler von Scars Above dann erzählt hat über sein Team, hätte er ein wunderschönes Bild einfach. Gut, okay, ist immer die Frage, ob man das zeigen möchte, aber er hätte ein wunderschönes Bild vom Team zeigen können, wie viele Leute wirklich mal dran sitzen
We
und
tease it
so
in the
weiter.
sizzle, and now let's hear from our friends at Starbreeze to talk about Payday 2, Payday 3, and their upcoming cooperation with Prime Matter.
Thank you, Jeff, and hi, everyone. We're excited to be here, excited to talk about Payday, and excited to be working with Prime Matter. At Starbreeze, we see Payday as the ultimate bank robbing experience, inspired by classic heist movies, providing adrenaline-fueled gameplay where you get to experience the thrill of being on the wrong side of the law with a smart plan and a gun in your hand. This is what we've been doing since the original game, Payday the Heist, through the sequel, Payday 2, to the upcoming Payday 3. And our ever-growing player community, our heisters, continue to be an inspiration for us in everything we do, pushing us to make the best Payday possible.
The world of Payday is an exaggerated reflection of reality where order is kept by the long arm of the law. At least until the heisters turn this order into chaos, giving the law the middle finger. That's when adrenaline truly kicks in and the outnumbered gang keeps beating the odds, often escaping with the cash in a hail of bullets. The Payday universe has an ongoing narrative that has been created over the years. The gang has built a reputation by going after the highest profile targets, setting up some of the craziest heist plans, and going up against some of the most powerful of enemies. And through all of this, the gang keeps coming out on top. In their exploits, the gang has become, as they call it, the tightest crew ever. The wider criminal underworld of Payday lives its own life, where movers and shakers want a piece of the action, or a piece of the Payday gang. In the gang's life of crime, they are way past the point of no return. And as we look ahead for what's to come, the gang will learn that there's no rest for the wicked.
This legacy is something that we treasure and will build on, expanding on this epic story, taking you all with us into the future of Payday. Many millions of players have enjoyed Payday so far. It's been an amazing journey for us at Starbreeze. On Steam, Payday 2 has the biggest player community of any game. This truly means the world to us.
Payday turns 10 this year, but we're only getting started. With our team hard at work, cooperation with Prime Matter and other partners, and above all, a fantastic player community, we are looking to the future with great anticipation.
I'm rich! It's payday, fellas!
The release of Payday 3 is years away, but we could finish off today with a sneak peek of what we're working on, a taste of things to come.
Well, there you have it. Quite a lineup. And Opal, I know we're going to be hearing much more from Prime Matter in the weeks and months ahead, right?
That's a great question, Jeff. Prime Matter will be taking a huge leap into the streaming world. From June the 14th, we'll be streaming 3 times a week, every week, providing you guys with gameplay content, achievement and trophy hunting streams, as well as Dungeons and Dragons in our own universes, cooking streams, and so much more. We also want to get our developers involved and have it so that you guys get to know our developers better. Not only
Wahrscheinlich, wenn ich mich noch genauer reingelesen hätte in die Koch Primetime.
And Jeff
Hätte ich
can help
vielleicht
us
schon
out too.
gewusst. So, nee,
Absolutely. I
komm,
cannot
schätze
wait
nicht
to
ein.
see what Prime Matter has for us in the future. Thanks for announcing with us yesterday at Summer Game Fest, and I look forward to being back with you again later this summer.
No worries, Jeff, and thank you for your time.
Ah,
It's
wie
been
gesagt,
awesome hosting with you, and I can't wait to do more in the future. And a thanks to you guys watching, to the streamers who are co-streaming, to our new gamers who are looking forward to the titles that we've shown you today.
Das ist schon. Puff.
We are
Saba
focusing
Uno,
on making
hello,
fun,
guten Abend.
unique, and honest
Schön,
content
dass du
for you
eingeschaltet
guys.
hast.
So, stay safe, stay cool, and I will see you guys on Monday. Bye!
Es ist vorbei. Es ist vorbei. Gott. Oh. Oh. Hell, was war das denn bitte? Also klar, wenn ich mich heute ein bisschen eingelesen hätte und so weiter, ich glaube, ich hätte den Livestream nicht gemacht, weil keines der Spiele, die ja gestern unter dem Label angekündigt worden sind, hat mir irgendwas gesagt. Klar, ich kann hier zwei Titel rausnehmen, wo ich sage, ja, da habe ich ein Auge drauf. Ne? Project Final Form und das Scars Above. Scars Above hat mir sogar noch einen kleinen Tacken besser gefallen, weil da hat man schon ein paar Parallelen gesehen zu Spielen, die ich auch gerne mag. Aber diese Interviews, ich bin kein Fan von. Und auch ein Interview kann man interessanter gestalten. Naja. Was soll man machen? Nichts. Das war, ich überlege, nee, es war nicht so schlimm wie EA, aber es war hart nah dran. Und es tut mir echt so leid für die Entwickler. Na, jetzt sehe ich gerade, was Emonti meinte mit Dings. Naja. Gut, was habe ich gesagt? Wir spielen noch ein bisschen selber. Ja. Ich schmeiß meinen 3DS wieder an, der übrigens jetzt blinkt. Der hat auch keinen Bock mehr. Bling, 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 bling. Jetzt hoffe ich nur, dass ich es wieder so angebaut kriege. Weil der braucht erstmal Saft. Und ich schaffe mir den Dungeon nicht. Na komm schon. Hallo. Langweilig. Ja, ich hab's. Also, wie gesagt, es tut mir voll leid. Aber ja, es war ratzenlangweilig. Es war nicht gut gemacht. Nicht gut gemacht. Ohne Witz. Dick auftischen und nicht delivern. Das war, ja klar, okay. Es wurde das Label angekündigt, man weiß jetzt welche Spiele, aber Gott, wie so schlecht und so langweilig habe ich so ein Event noch nie gesehen. Noch nie. Und wir haben schon vieles geguckt. Vieles, wo ich mich darüber aufgeregt habe. Wir erinnern uns alle an die Xbox Series X Gameplay Showcase, wo kein Gameplay gezeigt worden ist. Wir erinnern uns an EA, die statt die auch nichts hatten und dann Bilder gezeigt haben. Wo man auch gedacht hat, so, mein Gott, wir haben so viele schlechte Präsentationen schon gesehen. Und die war wirklich langweilig. Da hätte man so viel machen können, gerade in den Entwicklerkommentaren. Echt, bestes Beispiel war das Echos auf the End. Wurde nichts gezeigt, hätte ich kein Bild, hätte ich nicht gegoogelt. Hätte man nicht verstanden, was da überhaupt gemeint ist. Der Trailer wirklich nicht werbefähig für jedes einzelne Spiel. Die Kommentare absolut zu lang. Man hat zum größten Tag immer noch keinen blassen Schimmer, was die einzelnen Spiele können. Also für mich war das nichts. Das wirklich, bin sehr gespannt, ob das also das ist schon ziemlich weit unten bei mir. Das war echt nicht gut. Na gut. Ich würde sagen, ich muss nämlich mein Kabel suchen. Das heißt, wir machen Pause. Wir machen eine kleine Pause. Ich brauch Kaffee und ich muss die Szenen ja wechseln. Das heißt, ihr werdet gleich auch noch einen schwarzen Bildschirm kriegen. Je mehr, desto schlimmer. Hallo? Also ich habe mir echt Mühe gegeben. Wirklich. Und viele haben ja abgeschaltet. Kann ich nachvollziehen. Es war nicht gut. Es war wirklich nicht gut. Es war wirklich nicht gut. Da kannst du mit auch nicht mehr kommen. Das war absolut nicht gut. Da hat mich auch wirklich bis auf die 2 Spiele nichts abgeholt, leider. Gar nichts. Da war das Gas Evolve schon, Gameplay war schon Highlight, weil da wusstest du ganz genau, was es war. Irgendwie, irgendwo, irgendwann. Na gut, okay. Wir machen Pause. Sie lügen nicht, die Stirn runterfalten. Ja, ja. Demnächst kleben hier oben Sensoren und jedes Mal, wenn ich dann den mache, dann macht so piep, 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 piep. Ja, ja, können wir gerne machen. Na gut, egal. Wir machen kurz Pause. Ich hole mir einen Kaffee. Danach spielen wir den Dungeon von Zelda weiter. Holen uns das war das azurblauen Stahl. Und dann bringe ich euch wieder gute Laune. In dem Sinne, 3, 2, 1, gute Laune! Pause!